So, Jules, let me know about your favourite munch in prison.
My favourite munch?
Yeah, like your favourite meal.
My favourite meal?
Yeah.
Okay, so my favourite meal is whenever we cooked ourselves. I say we. The other girls.
Yeah.
And one of our girls was really good at making us dinner. And she would make a prison-style carbonara.
Is it?
It was banging. We'd get the pasta off the canteen.
Yeah.
The cream cheese, or whatever. I don't even know. Everything. And it was banging. It was amazing.
What else is in it?
A lot of other stuff. all I knew was if she was making mac and carbonara. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, what about you?
Oh, man. All right, cool. There's loads.
How?
There's loads because there's always someone else that's got a specialty.
So if somebody else is cooking though,
So you got someone that everyone used to give them his chicken on a Sunday. You know, you get the leg and thigh chicken. So we used to give him and he'd cook like, he'd either do a stew chicken or like a jerk chicken thing and like rice and peas, banging. And then there was a guy that used to do dumplings. But there was another guy that used to do mini dumplings with mackerel inside. Yeah, it sounds about it was banging.
No.
If you know, you know.
Hi, I'm Jules.
And I'm Zach, and this is Life After Prison, The Sit Down, a brand new podcast from National Prison Radio, in which we open up the discussion about life after release.
And our guest today is Tony Ola, Chief Executive of School Ground Sounds, a radio producer, a presenter, and a DJ with extensive experience in youth work, mentoring, and the criminal justice system. So, thank you very much for joining us, Tony.
Thank you for having me.
How you doing, man?
I'm good, you know. I'm feeling all right.
Yeah?
So, yeah.
That's good, man. It's a
Comfy?
pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, very comfortable right
Good.
now.
It's
Yeah,
the pillow,
yeah.
right?
It's the pillow, definitely. No, thank you for having me.
No, yeah, thank you for coming and joining us. So first of all, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? And you've got lots going on, so
Yeah, I
we
never
want
know
to
where
hear
to
it.
start with that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so I'm chief executive of a charity called School Ground Sounds. It's a music education charity. So we basically teach young people how to songwrite, how to produce, performance skills, and also open up their world to like careers that they can go into for the music industry as well. Myself, I'm a DJ. Started teaching myself in like 2016. And yeah, started to produce a radio show called Soul Surge, which then developed into an actual company. And so we do events.
Teaching yourself to DJ.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
So when I was, do you know what? When I was in like year 8, do you know Bigger Fish? Have you heard of it?
Nah.
So it's like a youth program, something like that. They came into our school, they did a DJ workshop, DJ course.
Okay.
And I did that and I really liked it. And then like years later, I was like, all right, I'm going to try to learn to DJ. So I basically took those skills to
That's really cool.
teach myself. And obviously YouTube and
Yeah.
going to different gigs and just literally watching my DJ friends and seeing what they was doing and then going home and doing it myself.
Oh, wow.
So.
You must have had a real passion to do.
Yeah, do you know what? Because when I started radio, I was like, I obviously was going into like soul and R&B, which isn't like the mainstream. And then I know how I like to listen to music. So I don't want it to be like stop, start. I wanted it to flow. So I was like, let me learn how to mix it so then the show is smooth.
I like that.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Me
So
too.
yeah, that's what we do.
A smooth
Definitely.
show.
Smooth. And your voice smooth
Yeah,
as well.
your voice.
Thank you.
I feel like
Thank
I'm
you.
just gonna zone out right now. Just keep
Try not to,
talking.
try not to.
It's great.
Thank you.
That's me. So like we know you spent some time in prison.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so that was be about 10 years now. First encounter with like the law itself. Ended up on remand for about 3 to 4 months in HMP Wandsworth, and then came out, was on bail, was on tag for quite a long time until my actual case, which got guilty, and then did about 6-7 months in, where was it? Scrubs and Brixton.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
About 10 years.
So that was 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well done, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah.
I can't wait till I could say that. That's 10 years. You know what I'm saying? But
Each day at a time though, innit?
That's it.
Do you know what I'm saying? Literally.
That's it.
Time.
Yeah.
So before prison or
Mhm.
leading up to prison,
Yeah.
what was life like then?
Fast.
Okay.
But it was fun. So I took like the traditional routes. I went to college. I went to uni.
Mm.
But in uni, like in hindsight, I realized I wasn't really living like a uni student. I was working. As
Yeah,
well.
I was doing the same.
So,
I
you
get
know,
you. I had
you're
like 2 different
working,
jobs.
You're, you know, exploring other things with your friends. They're exploring other things as well. You get a
Having
student
fun.
loan. So you just got all this income. So you're enjoying life, you know what I mean? You're partying. But very early on, I had lost friends from when I was like 17 to different
sorry
reasons.
to hear, man.
To different reasons. It's cool. But when I was in uni, I lost a friend to cancer. And that was like one of my closest friends. And I think that sort of was the decline. It was quite rapid.
It was like the catalyst.
It was like I lost him, and then sort of the focus left. Like I was doing quite well at uni.
What was you studying?
Ironically, I studied in criminology with social psychology.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So yeah, I was doing quite well with that. Like on course for like a 2-2 at the 2-1 actually at the time, and then he passed, and then from there it was kind of like the drinking and the smoking kind of escalated a bit more, and sort of kind of gave up in a way with uni. Although I had a lot of support, like my friends and the staff themselves, but I think for me, I was just like, I was young, I didn't know how to grieve. Do you know what I'm saying? And at the time, I mean, I had always kind of been a fighter. Like that was sort of my thing. I wasn't a drug dealer, a successful fraudster or nothing like that, but I could fight. Do you know what I mean? And I was up for it. So that was kind of like, that escalated as well around that time, which sort of is what led to me catching my case. And I was just going into my final year when I caught my case. So it was like the holidays in between. back in London, because I went to University of Essex.
Do you think though you would have got that 2-1? You know, do you think you would have completed it and finished it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did this case, catching the case prevented you from completing the final year?
Initially.
Okay.
Yeah. After my sentence, I went back and completed my final
Well
year.
done, man.
Well done.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
wicked.
one more time, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, one more time.
Yeah. So after my sentence, I went back, did my year. So I took a year out when I came home. I was like,
You need to.
let me just figure life out.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went back to uni. That I would say was the hardest thing, because by the time I finished second year, I left with a third. Like it was peak. Like I pretty much, I can't remember how they did it, but they basically capped it and was like, we're not going to fail you, but this is as high as you can get. So when I went back, it was like a very hard grind. Like I had to get firsts in pretty much everything to graduate with a 2-2, which I ended up doing.
Well done, man.
Yeah.
And this is after you're released from prison.
Yeah,
This is after.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good.
Talking about that. So what did you learn about yourself in prison then?
Loads of things, you know. I think I've always known I'm resilient. I've always been the type to bounce back. So that was kind of like, all right, I'm in this situation. How do I maneuver? How do I just cut through to make sure that I get out when I need to get out? I'm not trying to get no extra days. You know what I mean? There was so much access to so much.
Yeah.
Like
It's not easy, yeah.
You look left and right and it's like, back then you could smoke, innit?
Yeah.
So obviously there was other substances that you could smoke, and them times I used to smoke weed, innit? So it could have been so easy for me to do that.
So how did you navigate avoiding those like scenarios?
My personality is like, if I make a decision, it's done. Like I was literally like, I'm not smoking in jail, and that was it. I didn't smoke. And I had my cellmate was one of my codies, and he is pretty similar as well. And we kind of just had each other's back in terms of like, all right,
I love
you want to get out, I want to get out. We're both in uni. I think
actually love that.
the thing is, the way we weren't, I guess, how can I explain it? I think when people think prison, they think you come from a certain
background,
walk of
innit?
life.
Yeah.
And that is actually what prosecution tried to paint. Like, oh, it's a group of blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, we're all working, we're all in uni. And things happened. Do you know what I mean? So
Happens.
I think by the time we were in there, it was very clear, like, all right, I'm not trying to stay in here. Like, and I'm not trying to come back, and I'm not trying to, this is my first offense, all of that. So I very quickly was like, all right, you like this fighting thing, but it could look very different in jail. Do you know what I'm saying? And you see things are happening on the wing, you know, and behind closed doors, and you're like, all right, maybe that's not the situation I want to get into. So yeah, you learn how to maneuver, and I've always been a people person. So
yeah, you seem like, I'm not gonna lie,
talk to people,
you seem like you be calm.
Yeah,
I bet.
You're definitely a people's person. You can just
I reckon your time was
100%.
calm.
Yeah, it was actually calm. Like, one thing I did say to myself, I was like, or one observation I made was, if you go into prison and you don't have previous issues, and you're not sort of like overtly associated to an area or a group, the only real issues you will have is if you come across as a victim, and that just, I don't even know how you could, it just is what that is. Or you walk around thinking you're the man, and you haven't assessed the environment where it's full of ego.
Well, did you stay in one prison?
So yeah, essentially the holding prison was Wormwood Scrubs for about 2 weeks, and then Brixton.
So how do you feel about talking about your experience in prison, or talking about your conviction? Do you feel that type of way, or is it something that you're quite open about?
I feel like I'm quite open about it now. I always thought I was open about it. So like, I kind of am very easy with like, yeah, I've been to prison and blah, blah, blah. But it's only recently, so I did therapy, like I started therapy about 2 years ago. And
so you started therapy, okay. Can you touch on a bit of that?
Yeah. So obviously when I came out, life just moves forward. You're just kind of like, how do I get back up? How do I catch up? How do I figure it out? And yeah, life just kept moving, and things were happening in a good way. And then 2019, I lost like 4 people in a year.
Sorry to hear, man.
It's cool.
That's a lot.
For different reasons, and so for me, that was a point where my intake of like, I was smoking again, and that just went through the roof, and I was like, all right, this can't.
Was you worried that you like would go into like a
spiraling?
Spiral back towards
sort of like, but more on a mental health side of things, and like grief and depression. I was kind of like, a friend of mine tweeted about losing a friend. So I messaged her and I was like, oh, how are you dealing with it? And she was like, oh, I'm in therapy. And I was like, all right, I've heard about this therapy thing. Never really saw it as an option for me, but I was like, all right, I'm going to, I'll at least
like
speak to your person. No, honestly.
What would you say about that then? Like someone who's thinking about going to therapy then?
I would say like, there's a point where you're like, you know you're ready. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's hearing about it and thinking about it, and then there's like,
doing it.
Are you going to do it and do the work alongside it? Because you've got your sessions, but if in between your sessions you're not
like implementing things.
Yeah. If you're not like trying to do the work for yourself, or like, there's certain things that you'll have a conversation about in therapy, and you'll be like, oh, I didn't see that. I didn't realize that I was doing that. And you should look out for that during like your time apart from your therapist. And then you can go back and be like, oh, I noticed this, and this is how I'm feeling. And just being honest as well. Like, if you're not ready to be honest with yourself, it's going to be harder than anything you've ever imagined.
That makes so much sense. It really does. And I think you're right when, you know, you were obviously ready and really ready, and it worked and it made sense. So do you think would you say it's helped you?
Like,
really?
Yeah. My whole, like, when I say I was doing well, but when I did therapy, life is just like, boom, gone up.
I love that.
But that's a lot of the stuff that I was using to cope, I no longer do. Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
that allowed me to be more like sober and just like focused and sort of like.
Thanks for sharing that,
Yeah,
man.
thank you.
No, I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate that 100% because I feel like even for men, especially young black men like ourselves, we're not encouraged to talk.
Yeah.
You know, we're not encouraged to express that kind of side of yourself. That makes sense. It's kind of like just get on with things. So sharing that, I think that's powerful, man.
I think so too. Cool, I think, you know, that and, you know, a lot of people, you know, even people like even myself who have thought about it but wouldn't do it. I think a lot of people would think about it but maybe not do it. So even to share your story is massive to a lot of people.
Yeah, I feel like there's just a lot of stigma around it. Do you know what I mean? Especially like the mental health side of things. For me, I saw it as like it's a space to talk and just get some stuff off your chest. Like if you're living a certain life and you've built up all these traumas, you're almost like a glass that's full of water, right? And the next trauma that comes, you're just going to overflow. So every now and again, you need to pour a bit out so you can take more of life in. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's powerful.
Not be too full. Do you get what I'm saying?
That's powerful, man.
So that's how I see it. Yeah.
Powerful. And how did that help you, like, with expressing or talking about, you know, like your conviction in prison and things like that?
It helped a lot because that's where I began to unpack it a bit. So, sort of like coincidentally, at the time I was doing therapy, I was working at National Prison Radio, right? And I thought I was cool. Like, obviously I came out of prison. I've like lived, you know, there's been 8 years gone by. But then I've gone back into the same prison that I was in as a staff member. Do you know what I'm saying? I've got keys.
How did that feel?
I'm seeing this. It was weird. Like, it was super weird. It was mad. There was like a whirlwind of like emotion. It's like, no, I used to live here. Like, do you know what I'm saying? And now I can kind of move around freely. There was a time. So what happens is you go to the wing to do recruitment. I didn't go to the wing for like 3 months when I first started because I was like,
forget that.
Nah, I don't even want to see it. Like, do you know what I mean? So yeah, I had to unpack that in therapy and sort of like, what does that mean for me? What is the feeling of being back in there? How does it feel? Sort of like, do I feel like I'm back in? Like, do you know what I mean? I only remember that I'm not in prison when I'm leaving and I'm like, I can use my phone again and that kind of thing. So it's like, had to unpack that and start to figure out what was the impact of prison on my life. And there's so many things I did not realize until the end of last year, maybe even in terms.
And that's still quite like quite far on from since you've been released. So
yeah, there's loads of things I feel like we don't realize. Like I'm a creature of like habit and structure, and like I get anxious around like being late and stuff like that. But I only realized it recently that I was like, oh wait, yeah, I used to get mad anxious when I had to run home when I was on tag and I was trying to beat the clock. And it's like, I'm always on time now. Like always. I try to not be late and I'm like, but wait, there's no big consequence if I'm late now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's massive because you're so right. There are so many things that, you know, even sometimes I think there's something there, but I'm just like, oh no, it's normal, whatever. But you don't realize some of the
there's
stuff.
There's so many things.
Trust me.
It's so well done for going, you know, and getting the help. It's massive. So well done.
No, I appreciate it.
Really good.
But also if you know how prison's affected you, you can use it as a strength.
A power, yeah.
So how did that help you in your transition and adjusting to life on the outside or life after prison, should we say?
In terms of what, therapy?
So in terms of, like you said, understanding how prison affected you. And then in your transition to what you're doing now.
Yeah.
What was that process like?
I think because it's only recent that I've like really understood the effects of prison. I think it's now that I can be like, all right, in the last 2 years, this is what's changed for me. But I think I'm still quite structured. I still find it hard to like be spontaneous or random or be late and all of those types of things, but I use it to my advantage now. I'm super organized. Everything's in my diary. Everything's in my calendar. If it's not there, it's not happening. Like, and everyone around me knows that's sort of like how I move. If we're going to meet up, even if you're my brethren and we're going for a coffee, I'm sending you a calendar invite. It's there.
Really?
You know what time it is. You know where it is. Yeah. But it has helped me to create certain boundaries in my life.
Yeah.
Because there are people who are just late and they don't care about time and they just don't
But
realize.
also, with as much you're doing, you know,
Yeah,
that's going to
it
help
helps
you
me stay on top of
massively
stuff.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
People got to respect your time.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Some
Because if
people
you're
don't
doing,
understand it,
listen,
do they?
I get it. Because obviously I'm starting to do my own things like that. Like
Right.
being a CEO, running your own stuff and things like that. You have to respect your time because I'm doing a lot with what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So if you can't respect that, then how's it going to work? So I understand that. And a friend of mine, he used to give advice like that. Like even set time aside for your people whilst you're doing your work. But like you have to separate the two and be organized. So I get that having a calendar invite. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But also, it kind of, like, for me, in my head, I'm thinking if I've got that, you can kind of see where you're not spending your time as well. So maybe like, I don't know, family and kind of stuff like that. So yeah, well done. It's good. It's
I
organisation.
try to be intentional with that as well. It's easy to just cut
Work
through
too
and
hard.
work and work. And then you're like, wait, I ain't seen my mum in like a couple months or I ain't called and they're calling me. I'm like, oh,
Let me send her a calendar.
yeah.
So now you say that. Yeah. So now you say, you're a joker. I
I was gonna say,
I just clocked that.
that, like, I know I'm extreme though. Do you know what I'm saying? So my way is not the only way, and I'm still learning. Like, the calendar invite don't work for everyone.
It's
Yeah,
about
but it's
what
your
works.
way. No, it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
you know
but
your
it's-
way.
yeah.
But it's about what works for you, right? And
true.
so it might not be, like you said, it might not fit, but everyone has to find what works for them.
Yeah.
So what worked for you in terms of how to transition your life coming out? So like, because I really want to grasp on that for our listeners and viewers to try and take some inspiration, something that might work for them, you know.
Yeah.
But like for you, so what was that process like then, transitioning?
When I was inside, I had a plan. I pretty much towards like the end of my sentence, I was sort of like, all right, what is it that I want to do? Do you know what I'm saying? So I kind of already planned that I would go into events and radio somehow, but I hadn't figured out the details of it. And I was working before, so I always knew I need to work. Like I need money. Like the only other option is to do it illegally, and that would then, could end send me back in prison. So I kind of was like, I need to work. It's not until I got out that I realized how hard it was to get work for a while. Especially when it's really weird. When I was applying for jobs and I would hide my conviction, I wouldn't get interviews. Then one day I was just like, do you know what? I'm just going to put it down because if they find out, I'm going to get fired anyway. So I started putting it on my applications and I was getting accepted for interviews and they just wanted to hear more.
I love that you said that because I've got a similar experience in the sense that I was going for I was getting into interview because they weren't even asking about conviction.
Yeah.
And then I'd interview's going great. Then I mention it or they ask me about it. I break it down and it's like, it's gone from when can you start to like, oh yeah, okay, we'll be in touch. Yeah. But then I went to one interview. I was like, listen, I started like this. I was like, listen, I've got convictions for X, Y, and Z. This is what it is. I just need a chance. And he was like, all right, cool. We'll give you a chance. I was like,
yeah.
So I love that so carry on. Sorry, I stopped you there.
No, it's exactly that, brother. Because I just learned, like, do you know, if you're going to hide it, even if people take you on, they're not taking you on fully. They're taking an aspect that you've given them. And it's kind of like, if they find it out, you're kind of in that, not fear, but it's like in the back of your mind, oh, if I get found out, am I going to lose my job, blah, blah, blah. I'd rather you take me fully with my conviction or not at all. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I was looking for a job for a while, but I stayed at home for a while as well. I wasn't just outside. Like, I was inside. I wasn't really trying to see people. My friends had moved on. Everyone graduated. Everyone was working now. And I remember my cousin, close family friend, but pretty much we called each other cousins, right? We were serving a sentence at the same time. We used to write to each other from jail to jail. And he got a job near my house where I was living. So every day he would go to work, whatever. He'll come to my house for lunch, yeah. And then one day he was like, how come you're always here though? Like, I shouldn't be able to come for lunch. Like, I shouldn't be able to rely on the fact you're going to be here so I can have my lunch. Like, what are you doing? Like, when are you going to get a job? What's the move? Like, and obviously I wasn't going back to uni for another year. So I was kind of like,
in like a limbo.
Yeah, and I needed that conversation because it was like, cool, you're free, but what are you doing? Like, you can't just sit here and wait for uni. Like, what's gonna happen? What are you doing in the meantime, innit? And that led me to start like, yeah, just looking for jobs. At that point, I was kind of like, I had to let go a bit of my ego and my pride and sort of be like, all right, you're kind of starting from the jump. Like, forget that you were working before, that you was a uni student, that, you know, you was making money, whatever it is, you're starting from scratch.
What kind of jobs was it before?
I did, what job did I do?
Completely different?
So before I was in jail, I was working at I was in retail, like supermarket retail. And then after, it was like whatever. So like I did a job at a university for Freshers Week, handing out new books to students.
But the job you had in your head when you was in prison, you hadn't done it before?
In terms of what I wanted to do when I got out?
Yeah.
Nah.
So this is not only you got out of prison, you know,
Yeah.
You haven't done this yet. You haven't done this before. So there's a lot going on. So
there's a lot.
That's not easy anyway to, you know, come out, find a job, whatever. But, you know, you had this idea in your head and you wanted it to work.
Yeah. And it was just like, not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. It's not in sight.
But that's what you were going to go for. Like, that's what you wanted to do. Your next kind of thing was this dream or vision you had in your head when you was inside.
Do you know what? It's weird because from when I was young, from when I was 17, I knew I wanted to work with young people. So I studied psychology and sociology at college. And that's when I went into criminology, social psychology at uni. All with the idea of like working with young people who have similar experiences and kind of like how to help understand them a little bit more. So that's what I wanted to do when I came out. I was like, all right, what's the job that allows me to stop young people going to jail, basically? How do I do that? Do you know what I mean? And I was studying criminology, so I sort of was like, okay, I'm going to get my degree back and then I'm going to go into that field.
So, Tony, is that how School Ground Sounds came around?
So School Ground Sounds was already existing before I came into post. So I took over as CEO from the founder last year. It's been like running for about 5 years. Founded 7 years ago, but been running like fully for about 5-6 years. Yeah.
How did that come about then?
So I was working with National Prison Radio. And so I think I was there for about 2 years. And then, so I was there for about 6 months, then lockdown hit. And that was a time for everyone.
That's a whole nother podcast.
That was a time, do you know what I mean? But I think going from like being in prison, working with the guys, like really learning and teaching and sharing skills, to, you know, being at home by myself, doing the shows by myself, like on a day in, day out basis. It was actually a really challenging time. Interesting as well, because I learned a lot as well. How to do like radio remotely and sort of like edit and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, COVID, that period was a very challenging time. And I remember I was coming to the end of the contract and I was like, all right, I want to see what else is out there for me. Like, what else can I do? And so I remember speaking to my girl, and she was like, there's this role that I think you should go for. And she sent it to me. I was like, nah, I can't see it. Me running a whole charity, nah, I don't see it. I've always worked in charities. So from, and I can go into it a bit more, but from when I came out, I've always been aligned with a charity. Do you know what I mean? But never in like the highest positions. So I kind of just never saw it for me. I had like no experience of that type of leadership. But I applied for it, and yeah, like got through about 3 interviews, got through the stages, and yeah, got the job. And I was just like, and even when I started the job, it took about 6 months for me to be like, no, this is your job, bro. Like, step up.
It was a bit surreal.
It was very surreal. Like I had to deal with all the imposter syndrome and like talk it through in therapy, and just be like, yo, like I was in jail, like, and now I'm here, and how does this make sense? And you know, how do I step into it and embrace it? Do you know what I mean?
Something I've learned recently is that you have to remind yourself, I deserve to be here.
Yes. Yeah.
Because then that gives you that empowerment. So like, that's something that I've caught on to recently. Because there's sometimes I'm like, oh, is this really happening? Or is this like, am I having this meeting?
Or you
is this
don't
real?
go for certain things because there is something. Yeah, it's
that can hold you back, right?
That phrase, is so
I deserve
important.
to be here.
I am enough. I am worthy.
Yes,
because you know these are the things that do stop you. So well done for applying, and now look, that's massive. Really well
Absolutely
done.
massive.
Thank you.
Can you tell us also a little bit about the projects that you're doing now? What's going on?
So we're currently based in Lambeth. So office is based in Brixton. We're based in Lambeth. So we're currently in 4 Lambeth schools, and we basically do after school programs for young people from age 11 to 15. So on a term to term basis for about 10 weeks, we do songwriting, production, performance skills, and just kind of like a fun space to make music for those young people. Then we have 16 to 25 programs where it's pretty much artist development. So we have a 7-week artist development program where young musicians come in with the dream of like being an artist, being the next Stormzy, being the next Ed Sheeran, Adele. But then once they finish our program, they're kind of like, oh, I can be an artist, but I can also be an A&R. I can be an artist, but I can also run a music charity, or I can, you know, be HR at a label. So we open up their minds to all the different roles that are in the music industry. But alongside that, within that same program, it's also about songwriting, getting them into the studio to help them record music, teaching them performance skills. So we work with other musicians and industry professionals who come in and run seminars and workshops and masterclasses. And at the end of that program, they perform on a stage in front of family and friends and community and with a live band. And most of them haven't performed with a band before, so we give them that experience. And then the other program that we do is a pilot currently that we're running. And we basically picked 3 early career artists, and we put them through the process of writing, recording and releasing an EP, fully funded. So they literally just have to do the creative work.
They can just focus on their craft.
Yeah. But we help them with like marketing and distribution, getting them into the studio. We book their studio sessions, hook them up with producers, all of that kind of stuff. So it's fun.
They must be so excited
like,
about this.
Yeah. It's definitely fun. And most recently, we've got a partnership with Soho House.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is like,
that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Good.
So basically, we've got the opportunity.
Has that been like? Go on, sorry.
What's that? No, what was you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, has that been like, hard work for you? You know, and a lot of effort that you've put in.
Yeah, it's a lot
to get
of
these
work.
things.
It's a lot of work. I think what I've learned about charity is like fundraising is key.
Yeah,
and it's peak. It's
hella paperwork.
Fundraising is mad. Like, it's a lot of stress. It's a lot of rejections. It's a lot of like, no.
Are you writing bid applications and all that?
as well? Yeah. So yeah, I've learned to write bids and sort of just like try, and you got to throw out, you know, way more than you need to try and get some.
You got to cast the net wide. And hope for a few fish.
Yeah, exactly. But what I've also like leaned into as well is like building relationships and having conversations and trying to build partnerships. And so that's sort of like what I think trying to diversify the income, because the funding thing, you can't just rely on that. So I'm sort of looking at the music industry like, all right, you know, this is these young people that we're working with are your next workforce. They're the ones you're going to want to get into the internships.
So invest.
So invest, you know.
And you're still DJing?
I still DJ, still do radio every Saturday.
Amazing.
On, No Signal, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Okay.
Which is 3 hours of soul, jazz, R&B sounds.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And where's that? What's that played on? Sorry.
No Signal.
Okay,
radio.
that's No Signal.
Yeah.
Putting it out there. Amazing.
So you talked about like kind of processes. What kind of challenges have you faced in what you do?
In what I do now.
Yeah. And like for example, what's CEO life like? Does your lived experience filter into that? Are there like sometimes there's some barriers that you face? Like what is the
I think
because obviously sorry to cut you, but obviously because we're not trying to like we can come and say, oh yeah, he's a CEO, he's been in prison before, but like that makes it sound all rosy.
Yeah.
And like that's not how it is.
I mean, you know, the obvious. I'm a black man with locks and tattoos on my hands. Like, you know, you're shaking my hands and you're like, oh. I've been in interviews like my hands on the table and I can see like the eyes are going from my eyes to the hands to the arms and I'm like, yeah. And then I've got the job, but at the time I'm like,
you're like, it's not a good time now. It's not a good time
and
now.
And the gold teeth, it's like, nah, this is long. So I think that's still, and that's partially why when I got this job as CEO, I was like, I don't know any charity CEOs that look like me. So I felt out of my depth. I felt like all the CEOs that were at the charities I worked for didn't look like me. So
I mean,
come from my backgrounds.
I was going to ask how it felt, you know, being a prisoner to a CEO. Like, that's a massive achievement.
It is.
But how's that feel?
Do you know what? I think one of my issues is, and I think a lot of people that I know that have been to prison have a similar thing. We don't stop to like
to take it in.
Be like, rah, this is where I'm. We are in constant survival mode. Like we have to keep going. Do you know what I mean? It's like for me, at any point in my head, like the job is going well. Things are really flourishing. But in my head, I'm like,
what's next?
If I pause, I might lose this. If I pause, it could go wrong. So I'm just kind of like
keep rolling, keep rolling.
Do you know what I mean? It's only been like recently where I've been like, no, let's celebrate. Let's go out and eat and just be like, you did that. Do you know what I mean? I take myself out sometimes or I go with the missus, but it's something I have to forcefully do. It doesn't come easy for me to just kind of be like, well done. Do you know what I mean? Even when people are saying well done, I'm like, thanks. And then I'm trying to move on. Like, I don't know. I find it hard to accept like praise and
I'm like that as well.
Do you know what I mean? I think also maybe because it might be a man thing and sort of like where we come from, it's like, well, you should be doing that anyway. So get on with it type of thing.
But I like that you touched on sometimes you've got to pause and acknowledge
you have to.
Your achievements so you can see how far you've come.
Yeah.
Give yourself a little pat on the shoulder kind of thing. Like, you know, well done, brother.
Yeah.
So now we touched on those W's, those wins, yeah? So what advice would you give to someone who's listening and watching, who's maybe just coming out of prison and who could take some inspiration from your story? What advice would you give them?
I would say make a decision and stick with it. It's going to be hard, but choose your road. You can't do both. If you want to be legit, go for it. And it's going to be hard. Don't get it twisted. There were times where I was like, man, it could be so easy to just do something else, like, because this is long. But I would say stick to it. Because when people see that you're sticking to it, they're going to want to help you. And yeah, ask for help as well.
And I'm glad you said
Seek that support. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, man. Because like you said, people are, if they see you trying, they will help.
They're going to try it. Yeah.
But you got to ask for it sometimes as well.
You got to be open with the struggle. It's hard. Like, it's actually hard work. Do you know what I mean? When you think about, like, even now, like, cost of living, it's like, all right, that means we all need more money. But salaries ain't changing. So it's kind of like, what do you do? So yeah, I would say make that decision and stick with it.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that, my brother.
Yeah, which is easier said than done. But
it's exactly why, you know, we want
exactly why
people
we're doing
to be able
this.
to hear that, because it's true and it is hard. And, you know, your words matter so much. So thank you very much for sharing.
No,
100%.
And thank you so much for coming on the show and joining us
thank you for
today.
having me.
100%.
You've been amazing. Yeah, you've been great.
Yeah, man. 100%.
Yeah.
Been a great conversation.
I've enjoyed it.
So would you like to take this time to share any of your socials and your organizations?
Cool. So I am on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Tony Supreme UK. My music entertainment platform is Soul Surge. So that's Soul Surge UK. And the charity I run is Schoolground Sounds. And that's Schoolground Sounds on Instagram and schoolgroundsounds.org. Always open for conversations, always open to give advice where I can. I'm still learning. So for anyone out, for anyone that's out there that kind of wants to reach out, like, feel free. Do you know what I mean? We're all in this journey together, like, and I'm glad that, we've been able to connect and sit down and chat. So yeah, I'm open.
Love that.
Yeah, thank you.
All of that will be in the program notes and the description as well.
There was a list.
Yeah.
No, we love it. So part of what we love to do on Life After Prison is to give as much information, advice and support as we can for anybody that has recently been released from prison. So Tony, are there any other organisations that you'd like to shout out or that have helped you or that you know about that are doing great work with people that have spent time inside?
Ooh.
If not, don't worry. But if
No
there
pressure.
is,
Do you know
please.
what? To be fair,
Go for it.
and it's not just because we're here, but National Prison Radio actually,
Oh yeah.
Prison Radio Association.
Oh,
actually,
wicked.
I would say because they get it. Do you know what I mean? And
100%.
they're open to sort of like working with people with convictions and
Yeah.
seeing what programs they can put you into and all of that kind of stuff. So I would actually say them, and it's literally not because this is the network.
No, we love that.
Yeah,
I mean, look, I feel the same. I know Zach does as well. That's why we're doing what we do.
Yeah.
On this show. So yeah, I mean, love that. So thank you.
No problem.
If you've just come out of prison and you need some more support, advice or guidance, there's organizations out there that can help you, like NACRO, a really good organization who can help you with loads of things. If you're a woman, you can also contact your local women's center. There's organizations like Women in Prison and Advance that can advise you on where this might be. There's also the Clinks directory, which you can use to search for specific organizations local to you that can help you.
Yeah, and we've also talked a lot about music today. So Irene Taylor Trust have some brilliant music projects running for people who've spent time inside. So go on their website to find out more. All the details, all the links are going to be in our show notes. So check that out.
Also, you can check out our other podcast, Life After Prison, Getting Out, in which we have episodes that are specifically dedicated to advice on things like housing, employment, and managing your recovery. So if you need advice, information, and guidance, look out for that because there's loads of that in there. And we want to hear from you as well. We want you to feel like this is a space where you can share your stories. We'd love to hear from you about how your journey's been in getting on to life out of prison. In this episode, if there's anything that has inspired you, we really want you to let us know. And if you've come into contact with any organizations who have been really brilliant, please let us know that as well.
Yes, so please get in touch. You can DM us on Instagram or Twitter at AfterPrisonPod or email us at podcast@prison.radio. If you would prefer to write, then you can do that at Life After Prison, National Prison Radio, HMP Brixton, London, SW2 5XF. Also, if you did enjoy the show or found anything useful in any way, then please like and subscribe. It really helps other people find the show, and we want to reach as many people as possible.
100%. So thanks, Tony, for taking time out to be with us today.
Thank you, Tony, so much.
Appreciate
You've
it.
been amazing.
Really enjoyed this.
And thank you, you guys, and we will see you very soon.
Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Take care.